Hello everyone, and welcome back to another week of art. Our goal for this discussion is I can explain the uses of different ceramic vessels. What I would like you to think about for this is as you watch this video, use the 3-2-1 method just like we did last week. So tell me 3 things you learned, 2 parts you found interesting, and 1 question you still have. Some vocabulary for today is vessel and ceramic. A vessel is described as a hollow container, especially one used to hold liquid, sort of like a bowl or a pot. Vessels need to be sturdy and often solid containers so that the liquid would not leak out of them. Because of this, cultures would use clay they found in the ground to create these vessels. They would heat them in kilns, which are like large ovens that could get to around 2,000 degrees hot, to ensure that they were usable. Any containers that were made from clay and hardened by heat were known as ceramics. This included jugs, pots, jars, bowls, goblets, and plates, just to name a few. Ceramic vessels' main purpose was to store anything from foods like grains or vegetables, liquids like water, wine, or oil, or medicines like creams and herbs. In some cultures, like ancient Egypt, they used pots with different lids to store parts of the body after a person had passed away. Most designs on pottery can be broken up into 2 main ideas: purely decorational or storytelling. The pots that were primarily decorational would consist of patterns made up of shapes, flowers, and a sense of symmetry to decorate the vessel as more than just a solid color. The vessels with pictures of animals told what kind of creatures lived in these communities, and could also be used as visuals for telling stories and myths. Remember, being able to read, especially in Western European cultures, was not a skill everyone always had access to. Because of this, the use of pictures helped communities remember key parts of characters when telling stories. And what better way to store these visuals than have them on the ceramics that were already a part of your daily life? Now let's talk about some specific cultures and how they decorated their ceramics. In Mayan culture, artists were known for their relief carvings and their forms. Relief carving is where you already have the form and you use tools to carve away at it to create images. Some artists were able to create a strong sense of space in the work, making the images almost look like they're 3D. The Mayans were more famous for the relief carvings they created on their temple walls, but this skill also was seen in a smaller scale with the water vessels they created. Other cultures had unique ways as well of decorating their vessels, making them recognizable of that community. The Navajo people, for example, would often take their ceramics out of the kilns, and while they were still really hot, they would drop horsehairs, which would burn instantly, creating unique black designs along the sides of the vessel. The Cherokee tribes focused less on the colors and more on the designs themselves. Many of their ceramics would have patterns carved over the entire form, depicting natural elements, from animals like a turtle to waves to the idea of the wind using spiraled lines. In China, the main thought for ceramics was the use of porcelain as well as the use of white and blue designs on their ceramics. Porcelain is a type of clay body that's able to pull very thin, and many of the skilled artists in China are able to create ceramics using porcelain that, when held up to the light, the vessel is so thin that you can see the light through it. A lot of porcelain pottery produced had floral designs in blue colors and then the white porcelain background, because blue was one of the few glazes that could withstand the heat of firing the porcelain itself. With Islamic ceramics, they used beautiful geometric designs in their ceramics that focus on the idea of radial symmetry, as well as the inclusion of their written language, Arabic. Sometimes their designs would be painted onto the vessel, and other times they would be carved in before the clay was fired in the kiln. Lastly, for today, we also have the Greek culture, which a lot of their vessels really focused on the ornamentation of it, making it look really pretty. So they would have these very elaborate handles on their vessels. They would really decorate the bottom. And often on their pottery, they would decorate them with characters and scenes, heroes from their stories. Usually their pots would be the ones that they would use to kind of tell a story with. Alright, so that is all for this video. So what I would like you to do is remember you're responding with 3 things you learned from this video, 2 parts that you found very interesting, and 1 question you still have. Once you have answered these questions, you can submit them to this discussion and go on to the next part in this folder for planning out what we're working on this week.